I was sitting on the edge of our bed when the message came through. My phone buzzed softly on the nightstand, but somehow I already knew who it was from before I even looked. "I'm out with the girls," it read casually, as if nothing had changed in the 3 years since we had said, "I do." I stared at the screen for a long moment, my thumb hovering over the reply button. Part of me wanted to write something sharp, something accusatory. But another, quieter part of me, the part that loved her beyond reason, just felt numb. So I typed one line that seemed harmless, even banal. "Have fun." I hit send and set the phone down. 10 minutes later, my world tilted. My phone buzzed again. The message wasn't from her this time. It was a group chat notification. And I realized, with a sinking dread, that I had never been included. I tried to ignore the unease knotting in my chest. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe she really was just out with friends. But something in the way she had written those words, the casual nonchalance, the space between the letters, made my stomach twist. I went into the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and stared at the counter. The hum of the refrigerator sounded louder than usual, almost accusatory. I thought about the little signs I'd been brushing off for months. The way she would leave her phone face down on the table, the sudden urgency in her texts, the faint scent of perfume that wasn't hers lingering on her clothes. I had told myself I was imagining it. I wanted to believe. But the 10-minute delay between my "have fun" and whatever had just happened gnawed at me. I opened her message thread again. Nothing new. Just her picture sending that flippant, "I'm out with the girls." My thumb hovered over her name, the urge to call her overwhelming. But I stopped. I wanted to feel calm, rational. I wanted proof before I allowed myself to spiral. I tried to distract myself with the TV, but I couldn't focus. Every laugh from the screen, every line of dialogue, felt hollow. My mind kept returning to that message. Something wasn't right. And then the call came. I saw the name flash on the screen, one I didn't recognize. A man's name. My heart started hammering before I even answered. "Hello," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Hey," he said, and there was a strange familiarity in his tone, almost too casual. "You must be Mark." "Ah yes. Who is this?" My voice cracked slightly, betraying the calm I had been trying to maintain. There was a pause, a quiet exhale. "I think you know who this is," he said. I felt the floor drop beneath me. My mind raced through every scenario, every possible explanation. "You're with Sarah." My voice barely rose above a whisper. There was a laugh on the other end, low and comfortable. "Yeah. We were just..." He hesitated. "She's with me tonight." I could hear the words, but my brain refused to process them fully. My chest tightened, my stomach churned. "You what?" I stammered. "I'm sorry, man. Didn't mean for you to find out this way," he said, almost as if it were a courtesy, as if I were supposed to nod and accept it. I hung up before I could say anything, because there was nothing to say. There were no words that could undo what I had just learned. I sank to the floor, leaning against the wall, my body shaking. Every memory of our life together, the lazy Sunday mornings, the way she used to brush her hair before bed, the laughter we shared over terrible movies, flooded me, sharp and bitter. I wanted to scream, to call her name and demand answers. But I couldn't. Part of me didn't want to hear her voice, didn't want to hear the lies she would spin. Part of me wanted to vanish into the floor, to disappear entirely and take the heartbreak with me. I found myself scrolling through our old messages, looking for something, anything that would make sense. There were pictures from our last weekend getaway, selfies with her smiling, videos of her laughing at nothing in particular. My throat tightened as I realized how carefully I had ignored the subtle signs. The lingering glances at her phone, the late nights with friends, the way she had started choosing her clothes differently, suddenly with a precision that seemed aimed not at me, but at someone else. I remembered that morning. She had kissed me goodbye with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. I had thought it was the stress of work. I had told myself that she was tired. I had told myself 1,000 little lies, all to keep the illusion alive. By the time she walked in hours later, I was sitting on the couch, motionless, staring at the wall. The familiar click of the door made my chest seize. "Hey, honey," she said, slipping off her coat. "You're home early today." I didn't answer. I just watched her, the woman I had married, and felt a chasm open between us. She looked at me, her smile faltering. "Is everything okay?" I shook my head, my voice barely audible. "No," I said simply. Her eyes narrowed, concern flashing. "What's wrong?" I took a deep breath, forcing myself to meet her gaze. "I know." Her face paled. "Know what?" I swallowed the lump in my throat. "I know you're lying to me. About tonight. About him." The color drained from her face. Her lips parted, and for a moment, I saw something that hadn't been there in years: fear, guilt, the mask slipping. "Mark." I cut her off. "Don't. Just don't." She sank onto the couch beside me, hands clasped tightly in her lap. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just did. I was lonely and I shook my head. Lonely. We've been married for 6 years. We built a life. And you chose someone else. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she reached for my hand. I recoiled instinctively. "Don't touch me," I said, my voice trembling with a mix of rage and heartbreak. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I love you. I love you, I don't know what that means anymore," I said. My chest ached, every word ripping through me like fire. "I don't know what love is when it can be so easily thrown away." She looked at me, desperate, pleading, and for a brief, terrifying moment, I felt the part of me that still loved her, that wanted to forgive, rise up. But then I remembered his voice on the phone, the ease with which she had betrayed me, and that part of me crumbled. I stood up, grabbing my coat. I need space. I need to think. I need everything." She reached out, but I didn't stop. I walked out the door, the crisp night air hitting my face, grounding me in reality. I wandered the streets, aimless, each step heavy with pain. I thought about the life we had built, the dreams we had shared, and how all of it felt like sand slipping through my fingers. Hours later, I returned to the empty apartment. The faint scent of her perfume still lingered in the air, mocking me. I sat down on the bed, staring at the ceiling, and let myself feel the full weight of the betrayal. It was raw, it was suffocating, and it would follow me for a long time. But in the quiet darkness, I also realized something. The love I had for her didn't make me weak. It didn't excuse her choices. And it didn't mean I had to stay in a world where trust had been shattered. I picked up my phone one last time that night. I didn't call her, I didn't text. I just deleted the message thread. The words, "I'm out with the girls," disappeared from my life, just as I vowed to make her absence more real than her presence had ever been. And for the first time in hours, I felt a strange sense of relief. Not happiness, not closure, just clarity. I would survive this. I would rebuild. And someday perhaps I would learn to love again, without the shadow of betrayal hanging over me.